Good morning. Welcome back to Pages into the Past. So I just got back from costume college. I'm exhausted. I did more volunteer work this year than I think I've ever done. I feel very fulfilled. If you don't know much about costume college, one of the things is that it is all volunteer. Nobody gets paid to do any of the work. We volunteer our time, we volunteer ideas, we volunteer to teach, we volunteer to be hosting. All great fun, all very self-satisfying for what I wanted to do for me, for my accomplishment this year. The dean this year gave out some gifts to a few people on her committees, and I was in charge of the breakfast committee, and I did a lot of extra volunteer work, helping doing setup and loading and unloading of different rooms and such. And she had a gift for everyone. And when I got my gift, I was just so tickled. First of all, I got a little pin. It's got a sewing machine, and this here is a thread with a needle in it. Here's thread, scissors, a thimble. And then the best part was this lovely chatelaine box. So here is a needle holder, scissors, and all, a bodkin, and a thimble. I'm just so excited to get this, put it together in a kit so that I can take with me. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff. But now I'm back in my workshop. And one of the things that I wanted to work on was this simplicity pattern. When I picked up this pattern, I thought, oh, that would be a really great outfit for steampunk. In case you don't know, I do a lot of steampunk events. I find that it lets me use my Victorian clothing for things outside of Victorian era events, because there's not a lot of events where I'm at. So I found that by doing steampunk events, there's a few more events that I can attend, and I feel like I could do a little bit more with my costume than maybe I would do if it was a strict Victorian event. So this year, for Gaslight Steampunk Expo, their theme is Haunted Holidays. And I really don't have a lot of great ideas for that particular event, but what I did decide to do was I wanted to have an Octopus Captain. I've got a few little gifts that I'm going to hand out, but I thought that this pattern, this simplicity pattern, would be a great start. And so now that I'm home, I pulled it out and I was looking at the measurements. There's a lot of work would be involved in making this to my size, because my bust is at least 10 inches larger than their bust pattern. My waist is probably 16 inches bigger when I'm seated. Depending on where it hits you at the waist, I'm not quite 100% sure, because I have to lengthen it as well. And I know that there's like a 5-inch ease in this pattern, so maybe I wouldn't have to add quite that much. But I laid it out and I marked all my pieces, and having to add 1.5 inches at every seam, and I was like, ugh, so much work. And then looking at everything, I said, huh. In most patterns, your back is pretty much the same, similar shape. You have your center back, and then you have your 2 side backs, your 2 front sides, and then your center front. And when I was looking through it, all they really did was take this and add a skirt to it. And I was like, I just did this really fabulous vest. I did the double-breasted one. If I do a single breast, I could put a zipper there, like this pattern has instead of buttons. Or I could add buttons if I choose to, and have it and just attach the skirt down at the waistband here. Because it's a high-low skirt, I was going to have to add those pattern pieces too, because they're not gathered. It's just it's straight across. But that's a high-low skirt. And it opens up the front. You can see, I don't know if you can see here, but it just overlaps. It doesn't even lay real well. So I could do something like that where, because you can see the bottom of the zipper here, I could do buttons and just let it drape open for my sea captain. I thought, that doesn't take as much mathing as I think that I would have to do if I used this pattern. So I think what my plan is going to be is I cut out the rest of this piece here, because I didn't cut out all the pieces when I cut out this. But I will tape them together, and I will cut out the pieces needed. and probably keep that center collar because it's a slightly notched. It's not a huge notch, but it's slightly, because I've got a necklace that I'll be wearing with it that'll draw more attention than the notches. That'll work out great. We'll get started with that, and then I'll add the skirt to it, and I can get it all lined. And I mean, adding extra things like they have here, adding sleeves. Truly Victorian has sleeve patterns that you can use that are intermixable. Find your most comfortable sleeve, however puffy you want it or tight. These are fake pockets. Adding the bias trim, nothing changes there. The only thing that they did different on this one is the back piece here is fake laced, and it's just adding it to that seam before you sew it together. So this pattern here, the Truly Victorian, their back piece is cut, and so they have you do it. So their back piece here is slightly different, but it's truly something, truly, It's something that can be adapted or not even necessary to have, because I'm sure that if I was to add that lacing in the back, I'd sit down in a chair and get stuck, you know? But I might. All right, so I think I'm going to work on some of this, get myself started here. The next few videos are going to be a mix of things. I'll be doing some steampunk stuff. I'm going to be doing a couple of more in that steampunk realm because it's off season right now for anything that I do Victorian wise. I'm going to be going to a Henry fair and participating in the court, and so there's a few outfits that I have to make more Henry than Elizabethan, and so I'm going to be remaking some of those, and I'll take you along for that journey, and then we'll see where we go from there. Alright guys, see you in a bit. So I think I've decided to stay with this little sailor's hat. Ooh, and what I'll do is I will add the blue trim, I'll add trim and stuff to tie it in all together to my outfit. And then I found these buttons that look like they have pearl in it, and so I'll be using those because this is a fantasy project and not a historical project, and so I feel okay using that type of a button, being that it's plastic. So I kind of rough drafted an outfit having contrasting sleeve cuffs, contrasting collar. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it'll all be the same collar, and then I'll just do a lot of white edging. I think that's probably what I'll end up doing, is the white bias edging to kind of tie it in to the hat, more so for future than for this one event. So I have all my little notes off to the side. I have my little notes down here because when I was coloring I kind of smudged out my notes, and so I thought I'd better write them down twice. Today we will be cutting it out. I'm going to serge all my seams because the fabric that I have chosen frays like no tomorrow, and there was only as much as I bought. I have yet to find it again. So here we go. And right here I have it just pinned onto my dress form mannequin. Just kind of to keep everything in place. So, alright, I'm going to stitch that part together because that's what I feel like doing today. This is what I've got done so far today. Doesn't seem like a lot, but I'm not in any rush. What I decided to do is get the outside skirt panel sewn together. It was just 3 pieces. And then I pinned my bias tape to it. And now I'm going to stitch it down. And then I will stitch the 5/8 inch seam. I'm going to stitch the underlining on and then baste it together after I've turned and pressed it. So the skirt will be ready to attach to the vest when I get to that point. Alright, so today's project, we're still working on our jacket. This is our inspiration photo or piece. Here's our pocket flaps. I decided not to make them functional because the chance of me actually using them is slim to none, because I will always have something else to put my stuff in. Some kind of purse, bag, pouch. So I decided to save myself from trying to figure out how to add functioning pockets and just add regular pocket flaps. I used the pattern piece as a starting point, and so these are now just the flaps, and I went ahead and lined them in the bias tape. And then my husband comes in and he looks at everything and he says, "You look like Sailor Moon." I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't want to look like Sailor Moon. So maybe it's just his envision because of the white, because I've got white stripes as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these onto the skirt and then put the two skirt pieces together, sew the skirt, put it on either a band or just pre-gather it before I start the jacket part of this coat. All right, everybody, so I've got parts of this together. I have added the pocket flap and then, of course, the skirting. Right now, I've pinned my pleats at the waistband because I made it probably much larger than it needed to be. I don't want it to hug my body super tight, so once I put it on the jacket, I'll get those balanced out and it'll be more of a coat. And then I'll decide whether or not I'm going to press those pleats all the way down. And yeah, I went ahead and I self-lined it on the inside so that if it flips open, it's the same color of blue fabric. So now I guess I have to start the jacket portion. Wish me luck, because I'm really hoping those sleeves will fit. Otherwise, have to see what the next part of the plan might be if they don't. Alrighty, progress is being made. So this is the collar, and what I did is I went ahead and added the bias tape to it, and then I sewed together the bodice of the jacket, put in my darts, and the next step is to sew on the collar. And then I'm going to put the lining together. So progress being made. Got a little bit of slow-mo mojo going on here. So when you come to a project and you've lost your oomph, there's a couple different options you can do. First, you can just plug away. Or second, you'll see pictures, I'm going to add them here, of a purse that I made because my mojo was all gone. And because this is an octopus costume, I am making an octopus purse. And so here's some still shots of the purse that I made. Now back to sewing. Alright, so I've been putting the vest together and I'm at step 7, and in the vest directions it says to sew it all the way around. But because I'm not using this as just a vest, I am only going to sew part way around. So my thought right now is to sew to the tip all the way up and around the neckline to the other tip, and not sew the bottom seams or the back notch or any of that at this point in time. I may add that, but right now I'm going to do it to that point, turn it, press it, what I need to do, and then I will sew the side seams so that I can determine the sleeves and the set of the sleeves and how I want to add in the skirt to the vest, whether I'm going to just attach it to the inside shell and then fold the outer layer over and hand stitch it, top stitch it. I haven't thought that far ahead. My original drawing doesn't really show how it's attached, and so I don't know if I'm going to shorten it to a square waist, keep the waist that's built into this. That's where we're going to proceed from right now, is just stitch this outer neckline, then do the side seams, then I'll stitch the sleeves together and see if they're even going to work. I did find a different inspiration picture of somebody who did something in a similar vein, where she just has it as a vest and then a pretty blouse underneath, and that's an option for me, is to do a blouse and do some possible embroidery on the sleeves of the blouse to tie this all in as one set. Maybe cooler that way, but I'm not going to determine that until after I get this together and figure out what I'm going to do with my sleeves. Hi everybody, it's voiceover Paige here. I don't know what happened to all of my voice footage, so we're going to wing it. I think my new microphone ran out of juice, but I didn't know it. So at this point, what I'm showing you is I've got the bodice done. I've added the sleeves. They went on really, really well. And I am just kind of showing you what the outfit could look like when put together. I went ahead and added the cuffs and the sleeves. Minor adjustment, you know what they call them, sleeveless for a reason. And so I've added everything, and the next step that I'm going to be working on is how to attach it to the waist. Okay, you can see here we have gotten it attached at the waist, and I did end up taking out all of my darts just to make it a more comfort fitting. It was a little tight and I really didn't want any pull on this fabric, but we went ahead and got our pleats in and added everything together. I didn't cut anything off of the waistband or at the waist. I just stitched it in like I would any other dress, and then I hand stitched on the inside as to get it all even. Put it on and I was extremely happy with the fit. I did add some extra embellishments, and so here you can see I'm wearing it, and this is quite lovely. Very happy with the way that it turned out. And I've got my little purse, and you can see it hanging off to the side. It's a functional purse, and it just hangs very lovely. I can stick quite a few things in there. Again, very happy with the way that this turned out and the fit. You will see here that there's some extra embellishments that I've added to it. Around the neckline I've got some silver beads, I've got some pearls, I've got some octopus buttons, I've got the octopus hat on with a little octopus off to the side. And here you can see the fabric, it looks like water. Really intrigued by this fabric. It shimmers. And then here down the front you can sort of see that I added extra sparkly bits, and just the full fit of it, nice and flowy high-low skirt. Very happy with the way that this turned out. I wish I knew what I was saying here. So you get me, yay! Up on my shoulders there are some small little octopi. My hat does light up, and then around the trim or the brim of the hat I did add some extra sparkles as well. I think I'll try to see if I've got some pictures here. I will add those in for you. And you know what I always say, hit the like button, subscribe, and as always, keep on sewing.